Hello and welcome to your monthly market report for October 2022. My name is JD Socek, and today I'm going to walk you through a few of the most important topics in the housing market. I'll talk about whether mortgage rates will keep rising, what's happening with home prices, and what we're calling the shining star of the housing market, equity. So let's get to it. One of the biggest questions someone always is asking me is, should I buy a house right now? Well, obviously there's a lot going on in the housing market right now, and it's turning out to be a pivotal time for both buyers and sellers. Let's see if I can shed some light on these issues and help answer that question. All this uncertainty in the market these days is causing a lot of people to push pause on their house buying and selling plans. For instance, they're seeing words and headlines like crash, drop, falling, or look out below, which adds fuel and fear and concern. Well, let's look past all the sensationalism and dive into some facts from what the experts are saying. Let's start out with the mortgage rates and the big question if they will continue to rise. You know, this is a big part of the fear and uncertainty that people have right now in the housing market because they take a look at what they're seeing in the media. Headlines that they're seeing this is the reality of an uncertain market causing a rising mortgage rate environment. U.S. housing market stares down an even bigger economic shock. Mortgage rates reach highest level since 2008. But let's take a look at this chart. What we see here is the Freddie Mac 30-year fixed rate from January of this year through today, well, a couple days ago. You can see how rates have been rising since the beginning of the year. And if you look at the orange bars to the right, you see the sharp incline from what we've seen over just the past 6 weeks. Now note, this is the end of September showing the average at 6.7. As of just a day ago, according to Mortgage Daily News, the 30-year fixed was 7.12. So Sam Khater from Freddie Mac says, the uncertainty and volatility in financial markets is heavily impacting mortgage rates. Our survey indicates that the range of weekly rate quotes for the 30-year fixed rate mortgage has more than doubled over the last year. So the question, the biggest question here is, why are rates going up so rapidly? And let's take a look at this here quote from Odetta Kushi from First American. He says, the aim of the Fed tightening is to curtail demand in an effort to tame inflation. And when it comes to the housing market, the Fed's actions are working. Note, the Federal Reserve, they don't dictate mortgage rates, but they certainly do have an effect on them. The Fed's goal is to bring inflation down. They're trying to slow the economy, but the moves that the Fed makes to slow the economy impacts mortgage rates. When inflation is high, mortgage rates tend to be high as well. And you know that inflation is the enemy of long-term interest rates, and that's exactly where we are today. So until we start to see inflation lower, we will see mortgage rates rise. Now, how does that impact the housing market? Odetta goes on to say, home sales, both new and existing, are falling. Builders have cut back production in response to rapidly declining affordability. Annual house price growth has slowed from the peak of nearly 21% in March of this year to 16% in July. So we're seeing this cooling or slowing in the housing market as a result of rising mortgage rates. That is the reality that home buyers and sellers are facing right now, as we've seen over the past few weeks and even the last few months. But what should we expect ahead? What are the experts saying will happen to mortgage rates going forward? Here's a quote from George Ratiu at Realtor.com. While even 2 months ago, rates above 7% may have seemed unthinkable, we can expect rates to surpass that level in the next 3 months. How about this quote at Realty.com as well? It says, there's no doubt that increasing mortgage rate will make home buying even more challenging. We're feeling that affordability pinch right now, and that is loud and clear. But buyers may still find opportunities as these changes coincide with the time of year when buyers historically found the best market conditions to obtain more bargaining power. So what does that mean? Well, with mortgage rates rising It's slowed down the pace of sales. At the same time, that has created more inventory or more options in the housing market. So buyers who may have been outbid more times than they can count, or even searching for that perfect home that they just couldn't find, now may be the perfect time to find it. Let's wrap this part up with this quote from Mark Fleming at First American. He says, while mortgage rates are expecting to continue to drift higher over the coming months, much of the rapid increase in rates is likely behind us. So that's huge. He goes on to say, while month over month house prices may decline, annual house price declines are not expected, given the ongoing supply-demand imbalance and continued strength in the labor market. Bottom line, we have to continue to watch inflation because that will be the prime driver to how mortgage rates are going to respond for months to come. So that opens up the question, what's ahead for the home prices and what do we think we can expect? Let's take a look at what experts are saying about that. Dave Ramsey says, the root issue of what always drives house prices almost always is supply and demand. As much as inflation affects mortgage rates, supply and demand affects home prices. This graphic gives you the perspective of supply and demand ratio right now. It shows how the supply and demand ratio in real estate has changed very, very quickly. This is a measure of showings, which is demand, compared to active listings, which is supply. Over the last few years, we saw a real estate market like we've never seen before. The meaning of home for many people changed and interest rates dropped. So many people said, now is the time we're going to buy a home because we need something different. In the last few years, showings on the left, the demand side, went through the roof. You know, where we saw pictures of lines of people lined up around homes and bidding wars through the roof. That was a tremendous amount of demand. But on the supply side, listings dropped. But now showings are down nationally, down just over 12%. Active listings are up over 27%. That is an inflection point in the real estate market. So what are experts saying about all this? I've got 4 quotes here that kind of sum up the real estate market. And I'll start here with Ivy Zelman, the CEO of Zelman & Associates. Zelman projects U.S. house prices will fall 4% in 2023, and then another 5% decline in 2024. So when somebody like Ivy Zelman comes out and says home prices are going to depreciate 4% next year, they're going to get all the media attention. Now, what is her projections compared to several other heavy hitters in the market? George Ratiu from Realty.com says this: not surprisingly, deals are not getting done with the sale of new and existing homes declining for over half a year. Given that demand is cooling due to high borrowing costs, incomes falling behind inflation, and still limited supply pipeline, it is becoming increasingly clear that prices have to decline to restore market liquidity and balance. So let's continue this story. So Mark Fleming from First American. While the markets considered overvalued may need to adjust to the not so new reality of higher mortgage rates, housing market fundamentals still support a moderation of annual house price appreciation rather than a sharp decline. So we're starting to see what experts say a number of different things, some saying depreciation and some saying marginal appreciation, sort of an anemic growth. John Paulson, here, a hedge fund manager, we're not at risk of a collapse today in the financial system like before. It's true, housing may be a little bit frothy, so housing prices may come down or they may plateau, but not to the extent it happened. And he's referring to before in the housing market crash in 2008. So we have sort of this range of opinions from experts about the market. Why is this important? A couple reasons. So first, experts are saying, hey, this isn't 2008. Some are saying there's been a frothy market where prices in some markets are likely to decline. And then you have some saying prices are moderating. So if we start to put all of this together, we start to get an idea of the picture right now. So what does 2023, the price forecast, look like? Here's a look at the 2023 price. We'll get to it. So here's a look at 2023 home price forecast from 6 of the biggest giants in real estate. When you look at Fannie and Freddie and the MBA, or Mortgage Bankers Association, and the Home Price Expectation Survey, NAR and Zelman, the average of all these experts, including the depreciation forecast, which was from Zelman, is 1.8% appreciation. So the forecast from this going into 2023 for home price growth, best case scenario, is probably around 2% price appreciation in home prices nationally. So what's happening locally here in the Virginia area? So in August, our year-over-year price growth was about 3.4% in the Washington area, which is typical in a normal year, but yes, lower than the 10, 12, or 15% during the height of the pandemic. Home prices are still rising because inventory is still very low, but it varies across Washington's markets. It is still a seller's market, but it is starting to give buyers more opportunities to negotiate things like price and inspection and appraisal, et cetera, and we're seeing that. Which brings up a good point. We'll continue to see home prices increase, but not at the rate that we've seen in the past. So although we'll see a slowing of home price increases, they'll still be more than they were last year. Now, I want to sort of shift into that for a couple of minutes here and talk about what studies have come out relative to home prices in major metropolitan areas. And then I want to break down the home price expectation survey, which I think does a really good job of sort of taking the average of what economists or the great group of economists are saying relative to home prices. So first, the Zillow here, their appreciation and depreciation going into next year. For the next year, a number of MSA, or metropolitan service areas, think that as like a city or a region. What Zillow has come out with is that they believe we're going to see appreciation in 618 MSAs and depreciation in 257. Now, most of that 257 in depreciation is less than 1% to 3%, very marginal depreciation, some in the 3, 5, and higher than 5. So contrary to what is interpreted from the media reporting as depreciation across the states, it's just not true. As Lisa stated in her market report for September, yes, there are markets that will experience depreciation, but there are more that are forecast to experience appreciation. The Washington, D.C. area is one of those areas, mainly due to our strong economy and relatively stable workforce. So the home price expectation survey here, we see more forecasting appreciation than depreciation again. So what the home price expectation survey is every quarter they survey top economists, top experts in housing across the country, and say, where do you believe the market is going? They go on even further the next year, and they go out through 24, 25, and 26. And what you see here is still depreciation being called for in small slivers in 24, 5, and 6, but more appreciation every year, meaning more and more people being optimistic about the market and appreciation. Now, the topic of the shining star in this report, home equity. Home ownership is truly a long game, and this quote should emphasize that for you. This is huge if you give it some thought. It comes from Odetta Kushi. U.S. households own $41 trillion in owner-occupied real estate, just over $12 trillion in debt, and the remaining $29 trillion in equity. The national loan to value in Q2 22 was 29.5%, the lowest since 1983. Homeowners had an average of $320,000 in inflation-adjusted equity in their homes in Q2 22, an all-time high. That is a major financial cushion for those who are homeowners. So let's use this next quote to break down why this is important. This is from Selma Happ at CoreLogic. Where many households, home equity is the only source of wealth creation. As a result, recent record gains in equity and record declines in loan-to-value ratios will provide many owners with financial buffer in case economic conditions worsen. In addition, record equity continues to provide fuel for housing demand, particularly households are relocating to more affordable areas. So several big things come up here. First of all, home equity is a huge source of wealth creation. The net worth of a homeowner is 40 times greater than that of a renter. So when you start to compare home ownership to renting, it is a huge differentiator for people's long-term wealth gain. What we can see in the latest release from CoreLogic is that the national average for home equity across the country is over $60,000. Now, of course, this is Q2 of 22 compared to Q1 or Q2 of 21. So yes, a lot has changed since then, but still, 60,000 overall is a significant gain. So to go back to the question of whether you should buy right now, as always, I'll say that it's a very personal decision, but one thing that the data shows is home ownership has a greater potential to advance your wealth than renting. But truthfully, home ownership is not just about financial benefit. I mean, it can truly change lives. Providing things like security and stability, providing you greater privacy. It gives you a chance to personalize your house the way you like it. Financial education. The non-tangibles go on and on. So what we look at, as we look at everything that's happened in the housing market right now, we look at rising mortgage rates, we look at home prices, and it's really important to wrap it all up in a bow with the long-term benefits of home ownership, because we can surely prove out that home ownership has value over time. It's financial, it's non-financial, and it's truly changing lives. So with that, I'd like to wrap this up with a challenge for you to not just listen to the headlines, but rather get the facts about what's out there and develop your own opinion from those facts. If you need resources for this, feel free to reach out to myself or someone from the Milvets home team, and we can point you to, we've got a number of relevant sources that would help you on that. So thank you so much for joining me. As always, if you have any questions or are in need of a real estate professional, the Milvets home team and I are here to serve and support you on your real estate journey. Feel free to reach out anytime. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Check back often for my weekly market minutes that you can find links to the resources on this and for upcoming videos in the description below. And I look forward to talking to you soon.